Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another Sunday night live stream. And as you can probably tell from the title, we're just going to be having just a bit of a hobby hangout today. Nothing tutorial based, not really, just kind of just painting some models. So I hope everyone is enjoying themselves today. Quite a nice day. Been out in the snow today. So yeah, today we're just going to be painting up some Lumineth. So I've got this model here. This is one of my personal models. I'm looking to build an army out of them. I want to build some Lumineth Realm Lords and actually build like an actual playable army because I don't really have much in the way of playable forces. So this is basically just a quick scheme that I've come up with to kind of help me just get an actual army on the tabletop. And it's basically kind of standard kind of colours for Lumineth Realm Lords. But I've added a bit of streaking grime on there. I've added some blood streaks just to make it a bit more of like a, I suppose, like a grimdark version of them. I quite like the idea of them being not quite as clean cut and perfect as the codex and the artwork makes out. So yeah. So yeah, hello to everyone who's joining me on Twitch or if you're joining me on YouTube. As always, it's going to be very, very informal. So if you have any questions, please do ask me, and we're just going to get cracking with just doing some painters. This guy here is the painted model. This is the goal. It's mainly used with, I kind of just airbrushed some basic colours on there, and then use contrast just to get these blues and some of the skin tones as well. So that's the finished model. The models that I'm currently working on are these here. These models aren't quite as finished. They've been airbrushed. I've used some Talisar blue over these sections here. I've painted. Did I paint the elbows on these? Yes, I did. I think I painted those blue as well. So now I need to do some metallics. So that's what we're going to be working on today. Okay, so the paint I'm going to be using is just some gunmetal from the Army Painter. Just going to crack some of that on there. Make sure it's well shaken. Oops, just not the camera. Right, got my wet palette here. We're just going to be popping in a little bit of this on here. I'm not really worrying too much about getting this is like a perfect coat because that layer of streaking grime that I'll be applying will kind of hide any problems that I end up accidentally creating. So we've got one of the first questions of the stream. Jem Moore. Hey Pete, have you considered doing a Dwarf Slayer inspired Space Marine chapter? Ginger plumed Primus wielding a massive axe and sporting scores of beasts. That's actually a really nice idea, yeah, and I've kind of toyed with that idea before. Because I kind of had some Fire Slayers and I was just really like the heads. I was like, how can I incorporate this kind of crazy beard along with some axes and that kind of whole... I guess it's a strange kind of aesthetic that the Fire Slayers have. It's a little bit, in a way, you've got a kind of Viking influence in there, but it's not quite the same as Space Wolves. So yeah, it'd be quite nice to do something like that. Okay, so we just got some. I've got some more wet palettes. I'm just mixing a little bit of water in here, nothing too much. The wet palette will give it plenty of moisture, so I don't need to really worry. How are we okay for? Is the lighting on that okay? Looks a little bit dark to me. Let me know. If it's a bit too dark, let me know. I can brighten up. So I'm going to be using this just to paint the chainmail at first. Jack Coombs, most underrated miniature channel on YouTube. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Better to be underrated than overrated, isn't it? Mike Figgy, how many years have you been painting? Well, I started when I was about 12, so that's coming up to 18 years now. I've not been painting solidly for that amount of time. I kind of had a bit of a break when I was in my late teens, kind of going into my early 20s, whilst I was at university because I just couldn't afford it. And then I came back to it then afterwards. So yeah, I've been painting on and off for about 18 years now. Dave Rudden, thanks so much for your conversion tips. Kitbashing is defo my favourite part of the hobby. Currently following your recipe for Minotaur Blade Guard. Yeah, it's always been a massive part of the hobby that I've really enjoyed kit bashing. I've been kit bashing pretty much as long as I've been hobbying for. I started off with Lord of the Rings, which is a little bit trickier to kit bash with, but I kind of moved into 40k, and obviously the kits, the kind of Space Marine kits and things that were a lot more forgiving with those kind of conversions. So yeah, I kind of started off with just the basics and then moved on to kit bashing. But yes, I think it was just a great way of expanding out what's available to you, really, especially when you're kind of just using your pocket money. You're trying to get as much out of that as you can, and kit bashing is a good way of doing that. White Scars had similar stuff to Slayers in the Heresy. Yeah, I think I've seen some of that. They've got some really nice kind of Heresy era stuff as well. Question, Pete, what do you think of the Wolf Spears? Well, I did actually. I bought their codex, the Space Wolves codex, the recent one, just so I could actually have a little bit of information about the Wolf Spears. I do intend to cover them in a future tutorial. I hadn't actually realised they've been included until after the codex had been released. But yeah, I would like to tackle them. Being an official Space Wolf chapter is pretty interesting, so yeah, it'd be nice to get them covered. So the whole of this is metal. So yeah, basically just trying to get a full army with these guys. I recently had some of the Sentinels come with the archers for these guys, and I've been really wanting to assemble them, but I've not opened them until I've at least got these guys finished. So it's the aim of the game. And these streams are good because it actually makes me do some painting for once. Why did you get into the hobby, and what was your first army? So the hobby that I first the hobby style that I got into first was the Lord of the Rings, the Battle Games of Middle-earth, and it was basically the magazine. I think a lot of people who were around at that time remember that magazine. It was like a fortnightly magazine that was pretty cheap, and it came with some models, and it came with the rules on how to play the game, and it basically got me in that way. And that was like mainly Lord of the Rings, and then I picked up a White Dwarf, and then saw the 40k stuff, and just kind of progressed from there, really. I think the first full army that I ever had, I kind of dipped in and out of different units over time. I think I started out with Ultramarines because that's what everyone does. Painted my guys blue, and eventually repainted them to Black Templars, and then kind of ran with those for a while. But yeah, they're the guys that I went for myself. And that's basically how I got involved. Pierre Oliver Zeller, love your videos. You always paint so neat. I don't know how you can have that steady of a hand. Just practice, really. Practice, and also having good grip. I think you need to isolate your hands. So you need to kind of hold your hands together like this. You need to reduce the amount of movement in your hands, and that always helps. Vieta, hi Pete, love your videos. Thank you very much. Stannis Baratheon, welcome. Underrated character in Game of Thrones, to be honest. Are you going for non-metallic metal on the helmet and pauldrons? I'm kind of cheating. I'm literally going for painted armor, completely painted armor. Very, very bland. I'm using the I thought, to be honest, if I want to make this nice and quick, I'm going to have to just avoid painting any trims and things like that. So yeah, I'm kind of just leaving them as they are, and once we've got it, kind of just looks like it's just a solid color. So that's kind of what I'm going for there, really. The streak and grime really kind of adds some definition to those as well, so I don't really need to do much else myself. I was hoping to follow your scheme for the Zeech Slave to Darkness. Do you have any more examples of them? No, that's just a one-off guy. I just painted him as a single model, just for the conversion. But obviously I did do the tutorial for that guy, so that's pretty much how I'd go painting most of them. Now I'm just imagining you Kitbashing the Aragorn and Terminator. Oh, and I'm not hating it. That would actually work quite nicely, because even though the Lord of the Rings model's a little bit smaller scale, I think they would work quite well in Terminator armor. What silver is this, and is the cloak already primed? Yeah, so this model's already been primed with, I think I started off with black, and then I oversprayed with Wraithbone, or similar colour. It was basically a light tan colour anyway. And then this is gunmetal that I'm using now from the Army Painter. Captain Oreo 19, what shade of blue is that? It looks fantastic. So that is actually, the blue that I'm using here is Talassar Blue Contrast Paint. So I basically just applied it over this kind of airbrushed Zenithal shading, just Talassar Blue. Really nice bright blue colour. Shep King 1, question. For a first time attempt at making power cables for Flamer, would you recommend green stuff, or do you have a favourite sculpting product? So green stuff is okay. I use a material called Procreate, and if you saw my live stream from earlier in the week, the one where I did the bases, you can probably actually get some good tips from that. I use these panels, which are basically cable panels, and you would essentially move them. You roll out the putty into a sausage, and you move them over, and these ridges create. Actually, I have the model here. It creates that kind of effect. Can you see? Yeah. And you can make those quite thin. They're quite good for doing power cables. So not worrying too much about this guy being perfect. Like I said, I just wanted to get something on the tabletop. So if I ever want to do that, then I need to just get cracking with it. Not worry. Hello, Prisemo 96. Jack Coombs, any more Kitbash videos in the making? Yes, there is. So I'm having a little bit of a slow week this week, just because I kind of was getting a bit of a burnout from doing the channel. I've actually got my first Necron conversion, an official video. This is a Necron. It's been a commission that someone's set me up for. It's basically a Solar Scythe. He's one of the like the personal bodyguard, or personal lich guard of the Silent King. So they're like elevated. They're a lot more up there in the ranks than any other lich guard are. So he's a little bit bigger. He's got a little bit more ornate weaponry. But yeah, that's the kind of vibe that I'm going for that one. That was going to be out hopefully this weekend, well, coming Friday. Tiberius Gracchus, what do you collect and / play these days? So I'm building these guys. I'm currently building up some Death Guard as well. Those are going to be added to very soon with obviously the new codex. I'm going to add some Possess to them. Possess seem quite nice in the new codex, so going to add them. Probably do a conversion video on those guys as well. And for Age of Sigmar, the only other army that I've got that's kind of fully usable is I have some Iron Jaws. I have kind of about 1,000 points of Iron Jaws painted. I have a few more unpainted and some of them partly assembled, but yeah. Those are the kind of only things that I use. I haven't played anything for ages, not only because of lockdown, but because of I didn't really have an army before this. And yeah, I'm hoping to get more games in there once the restrictions have been lifted a bit more. How long do you wait before removing Streak and Grime, and do you use a cheap mineral spirits or AKS? AKs. So what I use is a product called Safer Spirits, and it's just paint spirits, but it's just a little bit safer. It's not quite as strong smelling, but you can just use spirits, and I think I pretty much do it straight away. As soon as it's dried, I just go ahead straight away and do it. How long do you paint these minis already? I think I did about 8 of them in a batch, and I think there's about maybe a couple of hours working them already. So for some people, speed painting, that might not take long, but for me, it's quite quick, to be honest. So Goldie751, good to finally catch a live stream, and any plans for future Age of Sigmar videos? Yeah, there are a few plans. Age of Sigmar is one that I unintentionally just leave out, really. I do like Age of Sigmar. I like the models, a lot of conversion opportunities. I just don't feel like I have any great ideas for them or any kind of really catchy, interesting ideas that people would want to watch. But yeah, I do need to do some more Age of Sigmar, I think. But Ottaway, what is a good source of parchment bits? The best source is probably the Empire Flagellants kits, the Age of Sigmar one. You've got scrolls, you've got books, you've got kind of parchment stuck to stuff. That's a pretty good one to go for. Carrick Acolytes, maybe. But yeah, the Empire Flagellants is probably one of the best ones, in my opinion. So I did overspill a little bit there, but that's fine. Don't worry. Have you seen Scratch Bashing's channel Titan Necron Scrapbook? I haven't actually. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for the recommendation. I'll give it a go. Mike Figgy, for someone wanting to start a YouTube channel, what do you recommend? Honestly, I don't think there's a right way to do things or a wrong way. I think the only advice I would say is if you do something that you enjoy, then people will enjoy watching you do it. So it's kind of basically you need to make sure you're enjoying it, because then it'll make you keep making the videos. And yeah, don't worry about getting the likes, don't worry about getting subscribers, just do what you enjoy and the channel will do well from there. And don't use clickbaity titles, try to avoid them. Maxime Scott, yeah. I don't want to sound rude, but did you do something with the Black Vipers? Not yet. So I was going to do them when I did the Cruel Blades this Friday, but I basically had the Blood Angels Codex was coming out, and I had a copy of the Codex, and I was like, I'm just going to do something. Gonna have to do something for Blood Angels, but Black Vipers are still in the works. I am kind of planning them. I've got all the bits that I need to do them. I just need to kind of actually go ahead and do it. But yeah. Dave Rudden, found out recently there are more unique character models in the Space Wolf line than in the entirety of Chaos, 17 to 11. Would love to see you take on some of the lesser known Chaos Lords. Yeah, actually, to be honest, this is one of the things that I would probably do if I was going to be doing some Age of Sigmar content as well, because one of the things I like is, I think Chaos, whilst it's always seen as one of those major factions, both in Age of Sigmar and Chaos, I actually feel like they end up getting not as much kind of love, really. But yeah, I know what you mean. They don't have quite as many characters in there, and both for 40k or Age of Sigmar. Although obviously we are getting some more Age of Sigmar characters with the Sigvald model that's coming out. But yeah, some Chaos characters. I would like to do Lucius the Eternal at some point. That'd be pretty cool. This model's looking a bit dated, but it's kind of got a pretty cool and very unique concept. Cities are perfect for conversions, also perhaps Chaos Mortals. Yeah, I agree. I think if I was going to do the ideas that I've had for doing Age of Sigmar conversions have mainly revolved around Sisters of Sigmar. So I think if I was to do them, then you'd probably expect to see some Sisters of Sigmar conversions coming through. But yeah, I do need to do them at some point. I'm trying to get into making an Imperial Guard kit-bashed army using some Sigmar parts, but our Lord and Saviour bits boxes out of everything. That's the thing at the moment. I think there's a little bit of a dry spell with various different manufacturers at the moment with these bits guides. I think partly because people are buying the components, and obviously also, especially the UK, things have been locked down, so it's been a bit harder to get a hold of these things, and people haven't been able to work. But I do know with Bitsbox, if you kind of get in touch with them, and there's anything in particular you want, then they're quite good at getting it in if it's worth them buying a whole box of components. What are your thoughts about the elves of this army you're painting now with the hammers? The Alorith Stone Guard. I actually quite like them. I don't know if I'll be using them personally. I might do. I was going to go for mainly a Sentinel and Warden heavy force. That was my aim with this. So with the Stone Guard, the models themselves are nice. I just don't like the cow thing, so I'd probably cut those off myself. And game terms, yeah, they're quite nice. I think I did a bit of a breakdown for them on the Firestorm Games YouTube channel. And if I remember rightly, you kind of have... They're more of the elite hard-hitting unit. They're better for taking on tougher opponents, more so than your Wardens are. They also can take a bit more of a battering. But to be honest, I think Sentinels just do a better job generally. Especially because you have the spellcasting abilities. I just think, personally, that's what I'd go for. Would you ever consider painting / converting Tau? There are some of the coolest units. Yeah, again, so many units out there to convert and just so little time to do it. It's kind of why I ended up doing these live streams and doing a bit of conversions in these live streams, just because there's so many ideas that I wanted to try out and just so little time to do them. But I would like to do some Tau stuff. I had some ideas for making them a little bit grittier. I like the idea of doing some Crisis Battlesuit conversions, making them a little bit more kind of not as clean cut. That's probably what I'd do. Are you planning on doing any more homebrew chapters or maybe Sisters of the Battle Orders? Yeah, there are a few commissions in the pipeline for some more Space Marine chapters. They'll be coming in a few weeks' time, probably. Nothing for Sisters of Battle at the moment, though. Okay, I think that one's done. I've done the Scabbard, Plume, Spear, Pommel. Yep. Okay, next one. So I've also kept the shields separate for these guys, just to make painting a little bit easier. That's pretty much following the same principle. Sprayed the same, and then just did the blue, and then I've picked out the bottom with silver as well. Nice and straightforward. Ricky Thunder, sorry, new here. What brushes do you use / recommend? To be honest, I mean, this is just like this is an Artist Opus brush. This is just like an older one that I've used. I've retired for use of metallics because metallic paints will just eat your brushes. So if you've got older ones that you don't mind wrecking, then use those. But actually, for most of my stuff that I've painted recently, I think the whole of this guy, this Cruel Blade, was painted with just Army Painter brushes. I've used Wargamer Regiment and Wargamer Detail, and that's pretty much it. So I think some brushes can be overrated a little bit. I think a lot of them, I use Redgrass Games brushes, they're nice, but Army Painter ones are fine. Just keep them clean, make sure you use brush conditioner, things like that. Captain Oreo 19, how would one make a commission out of curiosity? If you have any ideas for commissions and you want to get in touch, then I would recommend dropping me a message on Discord, and I'll use that as a way of mentioning Discord, because a few of you are already on there, I'm sure, and if you're not, then there should be a link in the description below for YouTube. I don't think there is on Twitch, though, so I do apologise for that. But yeah, if you click on my little YouTube link, you should be able to find me on there. You can drop me a direct link on there. Direct message, sorry. Sleep Deprived. Daniel, what army are you currently collecting for 40k? At the moment, it's Death Guard. I was building them up earlier on in the summer, and I kind of took a look. I kind of finished the first batch and decided to just call it there because 9th edition came out, and I was like, well, I want to see what 9th edition brings before I kind of carry on with these guys. Obviously, 9th edition has been delayed for Death Guard. So I guess my army's possibly being put on. It depends what gets revealed. I think the stuff with the possessed is nice, enough to make me want to actually build a unit of them. It'd be nice to do a conversion for them as well. So yeah, definitely going to be building those up again once that codex comes back out. Dave Rudden, I'm laboriously mixing Nighthorn bits and Sisters of the Battle to create Sisters of the Slain, my Legion of the Damned. That's actually a really nice idea. I think the whole kind of martyrship of them actually works really nicely. But yeah, that'd work quite nice. Question, do you plan on a how to convert series for Chaos Space Marine, Terminators and or Raptors? So I think someone mentioned that in a recent video. One of the recent live streams actually. And I really like the idea of doing some like Terminator conversions, because whilst I have covered, I think I've covered all the Chaos Space Marine chapters now. Have I? I think so. I think I've done a conversion guide for at least all of the Chaos Space Marine Legions. And yeah, I think some Terminator ones would be nice. I think you could kind of, because they're more of a specialized unit, you can kind of try and go for an aspect which is very specific to their legion. So for Iron Warriors, that'd be pretty cool. You could do some kind of mechanical bits in there. You could make them look a little bit heavier, more heavily armored. World Eaters, again, really nice, interesting ideas for those guys. Yeah, could be good. It also turns out that Repentia and Murmur Banshees have the exact same torso width, so it's really easy to give that Ghost Lady's chainsaws. That's actually really interesting to know. I think that's the biggest thing with a lot of conversions, is not knowing exactly how the parts fit together until you actually physically have them in your hand. A few people I think have already mentioned doing a Fulgrim conversion using Sigvald and Marathi, but I think until we know exactly how big Sigvald is, we're not going to be able to fully know if that's possible, because Marathi's got quite a large snake body, so it might look, you've got this massive snake body and really tiny little Sigvald torso at the top. So he might be better suited for maybe like a Slanesh Demon Prince, like an Emperor's Children Demon Prince, rather than an actual Fulgrim conversion. But we'll see. We can see what happens. I was thinking of using Stormcast Shield and sculpting the top of them for my Lieutenant. Yeah, the correct way of pronouncing Lieutenant as well. Just got a brand new Iwata Neo for my birthday. I've not used them myself, but I've heard really good things about them. I think they're a good way of getting into the airbrushing scene. I mean, for me, airbrushing is more of a way of prepping models than it is an actual way of painting them. I always tend to do more of my base coats, kind of like I've done with this guy. I've actually done more of the base coats and started the primer stage, things like that, with the airbrush, and then I go in there with the details for the brush. Quite a nice combination of the two. But yeah, they do make things like base coating really simple and straightforward. Broadsword Wargaming, we have them in the chat. Hey man, I've got a box of these sat about, waiting for another rainy day. How are they to paint? They're quite nice, actually. I think it really depends on... I've kept specifically a simple scheme with these. If you don't keep them simple, then obviously you have these really thin little detail-y bits to do, and I'm kind of avoiding those by the scheme. So generally they're okay. But yeah, I think normally they would be quite difficult because they're quite light, they've got details, things like that. But yeah, thanks for joining as well. If you haven't done so already, then I'd recommend checking out Broadsword Wargaming. Or do you need to do a collaboration at some point? Hi Pete, I'm trying to throw some dwarf heads on my Skaven, but they look too alive. Any advice on how I can fix that? I've already drilled out the eyes, but they still, yeah. It's a difficult one really, because it's one of those things that could be rectified at the painting stage. So I don't know if you've got to a point where you've painted them yet, but you can do a lot with just painting them if you just kind of give them a really pallid color. But yeah, I think mainly it's because the dwarf expressions are quite animated, so it's difficult to get that face that looks slack and loose and things like that, rather than that kind of dead rictus appearance. But I maybe get like a trial model, just paint it up, give some really nice pale colors, and maybe mix a little bit of green or purple in there just to give a really kind of necrotic look. Cloudy Cloud, hi Pete, do you have a favourite Games Workshop model that you really wanted to paint that's no longer available? It's an interesting one. Yes, I do actually. I really wanted to get. I never actually got any, even though I was collecting Warhammer at the time. But I never actually got any Bretonnian men at arms. And every time I see them pop up on eBay, they always go for stupid money. And I would love to actually have some Bretonnians men at arms just for conversions, or just to paint up as Bretonnians. That'd be pretty cool. I'm really hoping that when the new Old World gets released, we can see a return to those. I'd really love some of those guys. The men at arms or the peasant bowmen, actually. Either of those were nice. Okay, I think that guy's done as well. Bye Dan, thanks for joining. Almost finished my first model. It looks pretty good and I'm really excited. Good. Right, that's another guy. That's 3 down. We have 5 more. Let's go for the unit leader. Cloudy Cloud. If you have some Bretonnian stuff and you don't want it anymore, I would love to take it off your hands. If you drop me a message on Discord and we can sort something out, that'd be amazing. Thank you. Brought to Wargame Heights for the new Old World. Fantasy was my favourite game. Empire Undead Allies. Yeah, I think this is the thing with... Honestly, Games Workshop have really, I think, dropped the ball on it. I understand that Warhammer Fantasy was this game which was dying. They sold... I think I heard some anecdotal evidence that they sold... They made more money just on Space Marines than they did on that entire Warhammer Fantasy range, which is why they decided to kind of can it and go for Age of Sigmar, trying to get some new life into it. But the thing is, they then released loads of really good games based on the old Warhammer world. They released Total War 1 and 2, Vermintide, there's a Mordheim game. There's so many really good old world setting games. There's not really much in the way... I mean, even the old Warhammer Quest game was really good, and that was set in the old fantasy world. And I just think it's a real shame, because all these people have played Warhammer Total War and maybe they've never actually well, I mean, Mogwai Man, yeah, it's literally what I'm about to say. Those games don't mean people will buy models. That's very true, but I think if you are somebody who's maybe heard about Warhammer and you've played the game and you're thinking, oh, I'd really like to play a game, like play a tabletop, which buy some models just to enjoy them. It would be great to kind of have that. And you look, and some of them are the same, but it's not really the same kind of area. But it'd be interesting to see what they do with it. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, most games won't touch this hobby. Totally agree. It's a very kind of hard hobby to get into, and it can be very imposing. But I do think that if you're having the game and you've got the miniatures, it's basically like merchandise for the game. And I do totally agree that some people don't want to go to the hassle of building and painting, but we have things like easy build models, things like that. And there will be some gamers who will get interested by it. And personally for me, I would actually, since playing Warhammer Total War, I would love to have some Bretonnians. And I really like the idea of having some beforehand, but then after playing as Britannia in Total War, I would have actually happily gone out and bought a box of Britannia. So it's not even just new players, it's existing people who already play the game, play Warhammer, would be interested in collecting maybe another faction. But we'll see what happens when the new one comes out. It'd be interesting to see what kind of avenue they take. Will it just be like a box game, kind of running along the side for things like Forge World, or will they do a full third system? It'd be interesting to see what they do. As long as they don't do it in 10mm or something really small. I want it 28mm. Vaguely remember some sales info showing that Warhammer Fantasy was only making up about 1.5% of their sales. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that the kind of figures that they were getting. I mean, I used to buy the stuff, but nowhere near as much as 40k. And everyone I knew played 40k, and only a few of those played Warhammer Fantasy. So I think the rule system for Fantasy was quite difficult to get in. But yeah. Mogwai man, Games Workshop wants you buying armies, not just a model. Yeah, totally agree. But I think what they want you to do is to buy that first model, and a lot of people have gotten into the system from buying that actual first model. And if you have your first model, you build it, you paint it, you think this is really nice, I want to do some more of these. That's why they give people free stuff. Daniel Crum, thank you very much. Buy yourself some nice bits. Have a great rest of the stream. I've got to go study for my finals. Yeah, make sure you go and study. And good luck with your finals as well. Yeah, Heated Pete, I think that's the thing. It's there's another aspect to it. Obviously, the High Elves. I mean, these guys are essentially the new High Elves. It's quite nice to see them resurrected, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what direction Games Workshop take with their gaming systems. Whether they kind of go a bit more all in on the old world. I wouldn't be surprised if the success of the games has encouraged them to actually come back and revisit it. Maybe it's a bit too late though. I don't know. It depends. If they keep making Total War games, then possibly, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what this new edition plays like as well. Are they going to keep it like that old style? Or will they go for something a bit more streamlined, a bit more the way that 8th edition 7th 40k went to 8th 40k? It'd be interesting to see what's going on with that. Kringle the Great, hey, how's it going? What have I missed? So today we are just painting. We're just painting some Lumineth Realm Lords. Not an awful lot going on. Just having a bit of a hobby hangout, just chatting with you guys. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything like that, then feel free to answer them. Ask them, and I will answer them. When they bring back the old world, I'm probably going to dive headfirst into Tomb Kings. Yeah, it would be nice to have some Tomb Kings as well. It's just that hopefully if they ever do really re-release them, they get some better skeleton sculpts, because those were pretty bad. They're apparently setting it during the War of the Three Emperors, so the height of the Empire's powers / mad civil war, and giving Kislev a regiment of female warriors with ice blades, so it feels updated and different. Yeah, I think we've obviously seen a little bit of Kislev stuff teased. I actually really like the Kislev stuff when the new models got released during Storm of Chaos, I think it was, the campaign that they had for that. paint. Warcry book contents were released yesterday. So much good stuff. Think of using Age of Sigmar rules and units for third-party Chaos Dwarves. Forge World Chaos Dwarves have no hats. Yeah, big pointy hats. I think if you want kind of the typical kind of dwarf, I think Mantic do some. I don't know if they've released any newer sculpts. Their old sculpts are a little bit meh. They could be nice, but yeah, I think actually a Warcry would be pretty good opportunity to do some Age of Sigmar conversions, because obviously the official Warcry warbands are all very thematic, and if you're just kind of mixing and matching units from, well, in mixing and matching individual models from different units of an army, they're not going to have that same kind of overarching theme necessarily. So maybe that's a good opportunity to do some conversions. We'll see. Any chance of some new Black Seas painting? Nothing planned at the moment, but I should be doing some Victory at Seas stuff. The kind of the battleship scale game from Warlord. Is these guys that have cow hats? Yes. Although to be honest, what I would actually do, I think I actually have an Alora Stone Guard in here. Yeah, I do actually have one handy. So one of the things that I was thinking of doing, if you see the model here, so obviously that would go on there normally. Is it even in shop? Yeah. So that would go on top there. But what I was planning on doing is getting rid of that completely, and then see where this little ridge is here, basically cutting that top section off. So they have this like pointed helmet. I've actually only partly assembled this anyway, just so they're a little bit more. I don't know, I don't like the cow helmets, to be honest. But yeah, a very simple conversion that I'm planning for those guys. Rumour it's Wallmaster 2.0. I really hope it's not Wallmaster. I want 28mm models. And I think as well, if they did do 28mm models, they're kind of like how people use Necron models in their 40k. I mean, I've never played Necromunda. I have never bought a rulebook for Necromunda, but I have every single gang made for Necromunda, just because the conversion opportunities for them are amazing. So I think if they did something with 28mm, they could get maybe people buying it for components. So if it ended up being a Forge World game in the same way that Necromunda, Blood Bowl, Adeptus, Titanicus, Aeronautica Imperialis, all those kind of plastic kits they've released as part of those, then I think that'd be good, because they could release Age of Sigmar war scrolls for them, and people could use them in Age of Sigmar. I think that would be the best way to go about it, because you could encourage people to have a Civ Sigmar army, and you could use Bretonnian units or similar. Okay, I think that is everything for that model. Move on to the next one. Which Wargames Atlantic box do you like the most? At the moment, it is the... Now I'm going to pronounce this wrong because it's pronounced in a certain way. It's spelt grognards, but it's like Gronier or Gronier or something like that. I don't speak French, as you can probably tell. That's probably my favourite one, just because it's basically futuristic French, and they've been great for doing Deathcore of Krieg, Vostroyans. They're really nice for conversion potential. They are doing Space Brits as well, which would be interesting, and they're also doing a World War I French unit as well, which I'm looking forward to. But I still think the sci-fi one's my favourite. So yeah, it's not quite as interesting this stream as maybe he's not doing it as doing a conversion, but I do appreciate everyone talking. It's good to have a bit more interaction directly with people, something you don't get on a normal YouTube video. People were, hi, how's it going? How do the Lumineth helmets compare to Primus ones? I've been thinking about splicing some together to get an ancient Greek looking chapter. Okay, so we've got a Space Marine head here. Let's get them lined up. There we go. You probably could just about get away with it. I think maybe I've actually got a loose head here. Let's use that. So this is one of the Alora Stone Guard heads. So I think that would work quite nicely, actually. I think you could get away with that. Kringle the Great. Now that's a proper pike. Yes, definitely. The only thing is with pikes this big, it's going to be a nightmare to store and kind of make sure these aren't getting snapped off or anything. Zenith Baratheon, hopefully Games Workshop release trays like the Age of Sigmar, a Song of Ice and Fire game for 28mm. That way most minis are interchangeable with Age of Sigmar. Yeah, it would be interesting to see how they go about it with that. I think that's going to be the biggest thing, because obviously I think they do want to maintain that rank and file aspect to them. And either they will release them, like you said, with kind of interchangeable bases, or they will just include both types of bases in the kit. We'll see. But you actually remind me of something as well. I think it'd be interesting. It's interesting to see why Games Workshop decided to revive the old world. I think there's a number of different reasons. I think personally a big part of it is, like I've already mentioned, the games that are all set there. I think they've seen that Mantic and is it Cool Mini or not? Anyway, whoever does the Song of Ice and Fire game, I think it's Cool Mini or not, do them, have been reasonably popular. I think they've done all right. I think Games Workshop have thought we want a slice of that square unit formation rank and file kind of fantasy game. So yeah, it's interesting to see why they've decided to go back essentially. Those things are going to break and transport 100%. Even my skies will have some spears, and they're much smaller. The only thing I can think I might do is I might magnetize the bases and then get like a flat storage box and just magnetize the bottom, and then hopefully have them like that. I think most of these are actually... Oops, knocked the camera again. Most of these are actually fairly low. They hold them quite low, so I think I could stick a bunch of those. There's not any that are vertical, thankfully. I think that's like the most vertical looking one. So that's why I only need a box that's that tall, and these should be okay. Sorry I missed some of the stream. How did you get the blending effects on the blue? So the blue was, I actually didn't cover it in the stream, but I did mention it. So it's Talos All Blue contrast paint, and that's just over. I airbrushed this this base coat here. I started off with black, and then did I use two colours on here? I think I did actually. I think I used two colours. I think I used a darker tan and then a lighter tan colour. And then I basically just applied a layer of Talos All Blue to get a really nice rich blue. Bit more technical question, but I'm having trouble wrapping my head around where your camera is. Is between your head and your hands. Yes, so this is right in front of me here. I've got my arms either side of the camera, and my head is like about 6 to 8 inches behind the camera. I've got a microphone to the left of me. company doesn't have a rank and flank game, so yeah, they can make a specialist game that can be sold to that market. Yeah, I think that's pretty much why. I think they've seen that people are still interested in them. Warlord games have even got Warlords of Errorhorn. There's Oathmark as well from what's the name of the company? I know it's Osprey that do the rules for them, but who is it that do the models? Is it same guys who do Frostgrave, basically? North Star Military Figures, that's it. So there's loads of these fantasy rank and file games, and obviously Games Workshop hasn't got anything at the moment, and yeah. It's ironic considering they probably popularized the game, so it's interesting. Paul Klotz, when are we getting more info about this return to the old world? I've been eyeing my older fantasy models lately and have some Mantic stuff on hand I might put to use with something new. We haven't actually, I think they've been mentioning stuff in the Warhammer community posts, but they've been quite sporadic this year. I don't know if it's just because they haven't really been worked on or they've been kind of working on a bit more stuff. They did mention that, like a little bit of blurb at one of the ends of one of their posts, they said that they would be releasing some more stuff or more information next year, but I still think it's a way away. I think I'd be surprised if we saw anything before 2022. I think we might get some more kind of info come 2022. It's also interesting that they've actually kind of announced that they're working on this, because Age of Sigmar came as like a massive surprise. Everyone feel that the game was being built up to something, but then no one really knew what it was until it got released. There's obviously rumors flying about, but no one knew that Age of Sigmar was coming. So the fact that they've gone, oh yeah, we're working on this game, it's going to be a few years, is interesting. It's almost like they're like, oh, everyone's enjoying these fancy games, but stick with us, guys, because we're going to release one again. Also gets people like me talking about it, so I guess it works. Peter Wargate, I'm painting Oathmark right now, and the rules are fantastic. Honestly, I don't think Games Workshop could make a better rank and file system. I have read through the Oathmark rules actually. Quite like them. They seemed a little bit more complex than Kings of War, Mantic's game, from what I remember reading about them. But they were a bit more of this kind of system where you remove models as they take wounds. You don't necessarily have that whole kind of thing with Kings of War, where you just allocate wounds. Well, you allocate nerve damage, and then the unit flees when they receive so much nerve damage. So yeah, so it's closer to Games Workshop's old Warhammer Fantasy in that regard. What is it like to work with metal and resin minis? I've only worked with plastic myself. Personally, I'd say it's harder. Obviously, you're working with different materials. Resin is not quite as soft to work with. You can't scrape it in the same way as you can do plastic. Metal, again, is quite difficult, because a lot of people who've worked with metal and got into the hobby quite early and have used metal a lot, they will be fine with metal, but I think for new players who've only ever used plastic, it's very difficult to kind of go back through it. Plastic's easier, but they are manageable. You just have to kind of go at them with files rather than knives to remove mold lines, things like that. I was really excited about Kings of War around 10 years ago, but it never really grew and developed in the way that I'd hoped. I do love that they support models from any line though. I've not really... I kind of got quite big on them in 2nd edition when that got released. And I played a tournament or two. But yeah, I felt that they were quite a nice, liberating army rule set to play with. It didn't rely too much on kind of flicking back to and from rules. It was very, very straightforward. You could just go on Kings of War Easy Army list builder, and all your information was just on that, and you didn't need to kind of keep referring to rule books quite as much. There was the odd time, obviously, that was like a weird ruling because charges had happened or something like that, but I think any of those kind of rank and flank games, you're going to get those. But yeah, I agree that they kind of stalled a little bit. A lot of their models as well, their older sculpts look a little bit dated now. Their dwarves aren't fantastic. Their wood elves aren't fantastic. Well, they're just elves, aren't they? Their undead's probably one of the better ones. They've got some really nice. The skeletons aren't great, but their ghouls and their zombies are probably some of the better ones. I think some of the new goblins are quite nice as well. So yeah, I think they just need to kind of get their core model lines up to scratch. Personally, have you considered a Primaris Grimaldus conversion? Would round out the triumvirate of Black Templar characters. Yeah, I've had ideas for him. He would probably be a bit easier than Halbrecht, but is this one done? Yeah, that's done as well. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, possibly. I don't want to use Finecast again, though. Ideally, so I'll see. I'll see if I can come up with an idea that doesn't involve using Finecast. Then maybe I will do that. So what do I have here? So I think I've got just 2 more. I've actually got one that I've already. This one done. Yeah, that's nearly all of them done with the metals now. And there's Finecast where you might as well remake the models completely with how many issues. Yeah, that was kind of the good thing with doing the conversions, because I could just cut out most of them and just focus on small parts of the models and just fill in any little gaps that I needed to. But yeah. Paul Clot's biggest issue with the elves is they are true scale and look very dainty next to Games Workshop heroic scale models. Yeah, they're really kind of thin, and like if you compared them to these guys, they're like massively different, massively different. So yeah, it'd be good to see a little bit more of a bulky line. But then their dwarves are completely opposite. They look like they've been squashed. Like everything's very squashed together and flat, basically. I'd love to see some new dwarves from them. Okay, let's carry on painting this guy. It's a great thing about doing a stream for this kind of thing, because I can actually get on and paint some models, because quite often I just think, oh, I'm going to do some hobbying, and I'll be like, oh, should I just do some work on my models or my own armies, or should I do a tutorial? And I end up doing a tutorial because I'm excited to do something like a conversion or something like that, and then I never end up with a full army. I just end up with random models. I probably have about a full army's worth of models from different factions and different systems and painted in different colours. New Mantic Owls on the horizon, by the way, very interesting. If they're goblins or anything to go off, then some new elves would be nice as well. Oh, it's on the Kings of War Facebook group. I'll have to check that out. A few of some of the later models that got released were quite nice. The metal characters were quite nice. I just think some of the earlier plastic ones were a little bit lacking, that was all. Could I use non-Primaris arms on a Primaris, as I'm converting my custom chapter, the Galactic Foxes right now, and I'm using bits from the Incest kit and the non-Primaris Space Wolves pack. So, in my personal experience, most of the arms for the older guys are a little bit shorter. They're not quite as long. The only arms that I found to be an exception are the Deathwatch models that were released. I think they were some of the ones which, because I used that on my Gabriel Angelos conversion, and the arms look fine. I mean, those are firstborn arms, but against the Primus model, they look okay. I think they made the Deathwatch a little bit better scaled. So maybe not Space Wolves, but you could probably use Deathwatch if you wanted to. Hey Pete, I recently got into Warhammer and your conversion paint guides are both really enjoyable and have helped me a lot. Keep it up, dude. Yes, don't worry, I should definitely keep this up. Lots more content planned as always. Yeah, I think it's not like super quick. It's not maybe as quick as like speed painting as I've done in the past, but I think for the trade-off for the effect, it's not bad. And the only thing I've got to do after this would be apply. I was going to be applying some black grey, some Vallejo black grey, and that was going to go over the pike, the shafts of the pike, and that was pretty much it. Then I was just going to hit them with some grime, hit them with some blood spatters, and then stick the shield on, and that's what gives me this guy. Oh, just did some basing as well, added a little bit of mud. So what's everyone's projects then this weekend? What's everyone working on, or what you're going to be working on for the rest of today? Planning any Alpha or Aldar conversions in the near future. There's some Aldar conversions that I've got planned. I'm not sure when I'll do them. I've got a bit of time off over Christmas, so I was hoping to do a little bit of conversion work over there. Working on some flayers for my first Age of Sigmar army. Nice. Bloodthirst. That's a big model. That is. I haven't actually picked one of those up yet. But I remember when they were released, they were really nice looking models. You just paint it red as well. Easy. Paint it red, give it a wash, done. So you paint them. Currently busy with my Orquar, very much lost, but finding my way slowly. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that that ends up happening a lot with me. One of the things that I'm trying to do with these guys is I've developed a list, and I'm basically going to be tackling one unit at a time. Once this unit's done, I will be building and painting another unit, and then once that's done, and so on and so forth. Just because I think it helps kind of keep things up a bit. Stops them getting overwhelmed because you haven't got like a pile of models to paint. You just got a few. Tau Ghost Keel, such a cool model. Yes, I've painted on those in the past, just as kind of like for my own work, and I really enjoyed painting that model. It's probably one of the nicer battle suits out of all of them, I'd say. Looking forward to seeing those. I do like your Space Marine conversions, but I think I'd be more interesting for you to expand the catalogue of Xenos conversions. Yes, definitely. It's been something I wanted to do. I think a big part of the reason why I haven't done it so much now is because, well, up until this point, is just because I know a lot about Space Marines. I've read loads of their codexes. I've read stuff about on Lexicon and things like that. So I know more about them, and I can kind of delve into the background a bit more and come up with ideas for conversions more easily. But when it comes to things like Aldar and Tau, I don't know quite as much about them. So it's difficult to kind of come up with those ideas. But yeah, I do need to do some more Xenos stuff. Like I said, I've got a Necron tutorial coming this weekend. Well, this coming Friday. So, it'd be nice to get something non-Space Marine on the channel for once. Pre-Heresy Thousand Sons Primus Marines. Nice idea. I did a few of those kind of conversions myself. They were good fun. I've been working on a Chaos Khorne Blood Magic Sorcerer for my custom campaign using the Master of Possession model. Sounds pretty cool. It's a very nice model, that one is. Lots of skulls, so perfect for Khorne. Planning on painting my Afghan warriors from Wargames Atlantic and making a bunker for my Guard army. I actually have some of those Afghan warriors. I was going to use them for some talent conversions, but I think the scale is just a little bit off, so I don't think I can use them. Not safe for work, Slanesh models. Gotta love third-party minis. Yeah, there's some quite crazy stuff out there, to be honest. It's like 3D printing stuff as well. Building the Bell Tower from the Mortal Realms mag. That's actually a really nice terrain piece, and I bought a few of those of that issue. I think I bought 3 of them just so I could have the bell, because the bell and also the skeletons that are kind of hanging next to it, because they're really useful for conversions. And I got some ideas for the bell as well. Lexiconum and not the wiki, man of culture. See, I use a mixture of things. I kind of check a few different sources. I always find that sometimes they conflict, and sometimes they have different opinions or different viewpoints on certain things. Sometimes they're exactly the same and just literally copied and pasted, but yeah. I'm converting my own custom chapter called the Galactic Foxes with an orange colour and white forearms with black armour trim. They have a sort of high-tech Space Wolf and Black Temple vibe. That'd be nice, I think, because obviously the Space Wolves are kind of seen as being a bit more low-tech in their weaponry choices. Obviously, even though they're using hover vehicles and stuff like that still. Hoping to get an Ogre Bodyguard with Cromlech Iron Reich Orc Head, aiming for a cheesy Wolfenstein look. That sounds pretty cool to me. Yeah, I think I haven't actually seen the Iron Reich. Yes, I have seen them. Yeah, Cromlech got some really nice kind of World War II themed orcs. Very characterful little conversion pieces they have there. Never thought about using them on like an Ogre size model though. That sounds pretty cool. Have you ever ordered off Pop Goes the Monkey? I haven't. I've heard about them. I've seen some of their stuff, but I've never actually gone and ordered anything from them. At least not yet. I wish to reproduce a conversion of Tushan, Chapter Master of the Salamanders, with a base of Marnie's Calgar that I saw on Reddit. I have not seen that one myself. A few people have actually been recommending him, and he's quite a nice model to do because he didn't actually have an existing model. So no one can kind of say, oh, well, he's missing this iconic piece, or he doesn't have this or that, because there's no existing model, so there's nothing that people can compare it to. People will try, of course. People always do. Question, do you have any plans for more Star Wars Legion content? Not at the moment. Not to say that I wouldn't ever want to never ever do anything for them again. Decipher that one. Yeah, they've got some nice stuff coming out for it, and they keep kind of doing these nice releases. Maybe if they did, I don't know if they already have actually. If they did some kind of Mandalorian stuff, then I would maybe do that. That'd be pretty fun to do. I don't know if they already have. I know they did a Boba Fett, but that was about it, I think. If they were to update Imperial Guard, what should they add? Well, change/add. So, in my opinion, the Imperial Guard infantry set should get an overhaul in the same way that the Tau Fire Warriors set did, and be a 2-part kit. It should be able to be built in 2 ways. You can build it as regular infantry. You should have some options in there for doing things like conscripts or white shields. And you should also have Oh, what would I have in there as well? Maybe some like veteran stuff, or maybe some heavy weapons actually in that sprue. That'd be pretty cool. Another thing I would like to see is some upgrade sprues for different regiments. So kind of like how we have the Blood Angels and Space Wolf things. Maybe do some like a Vostrian one or a Valhalla one, things like that. Either that or some kind of greatcoat infantry models. That'd be pretty cool to see. I don't think they'll move away from the Cadian models just because it's already quite a strong line. They have a Mandalorian squad and Sabine Wren. I didn't know that. I didn't actually know that. Let's see. Maybe we could check those out in the future. So yeah, this guy's nearly done now, I think. Just a few little bits to do for him. What time are we on? 8:10. I think I might finish this guy off and then maybe just call it a day then. Sorry, I just kind of leaned over and screamed down the microphone there. So if you're wearing headphones, I do apologise. I hope they bring Van Kasich in, still working on science with the discontinued hazardous combat heads. Yeah, I think the Tempesta signs were nice because they're a plastic kit, but I would have liked the old style models because they fit really nicely alongside the Cadians, so it's a shame. What's your favourite traitor legion? Death Guard, definitely. Building those guys up soon again, so yeah, it's got to be Death Guard. Always found them really interesting, just in their kind of the background. The models have always been really nice as well. I just realised how much I love non-Primus helmets on Primus models. I think that ends up being the case with a lot of people, which is why I often end up swapping out the heads or even just going for bare heads because, and like with my Dragon Spears tutorial, I think just filling in those vents on the helmets can really change how the helmet looks. But yeah, I like using Mark 3 helmets are pretty cool on there. Even like the Mark 7 helmets work quite nice as well, actually. Can you recommend alternative kits to build Mark 3 Iron Pattern Armor Space Marines? Alternative kits. I'm guessing you're talking about third party if you mean alternative kits, because I would personally just recommend the plastic Mark 3 one. But I don't really know. I don't really know of anything else that would do them. There's maybe some 3D printed components out there, but I don't know of anything else really. Yeah, some Death Guard heads might work if you're looking for a more worn look, though they do have the occasional Mark 2 head too. Yeah, the Death Guard stuff is... some of it would work quite nicely, but some of it's a little bit too corrupted. But they'd be the right scale as well, because the Death Guard stuff is slightly bigger, I think, if I remember rightly. They kind of upped the scale with this Chaos stuff recently. Okay, I think that's done. I said Mark 3. I haven't actually used Mark 3 in a long time. But yeah, it'd be good to use Mark 3 again in the future. It'd be good. Do you have any plans on making Rough Rider conversion video? I have made some myself, but would be interested to see how you would. I actually did something similar. It was a chapter called, not a chapter, a regiment. Oh man, I can't remember what it's called now. It was a while ago. I used some of the models from Fireforge Games. I used some of their plastic models as a basis. They're really nice to use it. But yeah, I'd recommend that. Alternatively, you could use some of the Admech Cyber Wolf. No, what are they called now? Cyber. What are they called? They're like robot horses. Them ones. My pipe dream is plastic Vostrians one day, cleaning loads of metal modifiers. Yeah, definitely. I would love to see some Vostrians. They're a really characterful unit, and it's a shame that they kind of didn't get. But yeah. I just realised this isn't Super Saiyan. Sorry, Pete. No worries. I mean, to be honest, it's fine. Don't worry. Cyber Mastiffs. Is that what are they? Is that what they are? I can't remember what they are. But yeah. Yeah, it seems like Games Workshop are having a bit of a strange thing with their restocking at the moment. I think they've literally had loads of... I think it's partly coronavirus has slowed things down, but I think also loads of people have kind of decided to buy Warhammer and take up the hobby. And so they're not able to keep up with the manufacturing. So loads of stuff seems to be out of stock at the moment. Like, stuff's getting delayed. Stuff is really hard for people to restock it. I don't think they made enough battle forces. I think a lot of people have complained about those. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff going out of stock at the moment. So maybe you can find a third party. Right, I think I'm going to be rounding off the stream there. I've managed to paint all of the silver on my Lumineth, guys, so thank you for joining me as I did that. It wasn't quite as interesting or eventful as one of my conversion guides, but it's nice to just sit down and chat with you guys and answer your questions and just hang out. It's really, really nice. So yeah, this is the guy, obviously the finished one. In the future, I did actually miss a bit on him. I actually think I missed the metal on him. It's not quite as bright as I wanted. It is there. Not quite as bright as I should have probably have it, but anyway. So yeah, thank you very much. As always, if you haven't done so already, check out Discord. If you support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee, you use my affiliates links, or you do super chats, anything like that, thank you so much for your support. It's always massively appreciated. You guys keep this channel going. It allows me to do more interesting versions and to kind of go about things that I wouldn't normally be able to if it wasn't for your help. So yeah, thank you very much. There will probably be another stream later on this week, maybe a conversion, maybe something else. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Thanks to everyone on Twitch. I'm kind of trying to build Twitch up a little bit more as well, so I'll still be simultaneously streaming between the two. But yeah, if you want to join me on Twitch, then there's a link in the description. And yeah, thank you very much, and I will see you again in the future.